So I had the idea that I want to make myself a superhero outfit. I don't want to make like a traditional superhero theme around it. I want it to be a bit more of a mature theme, a bit more interesting, maybe. I want it to be like a superhero slash villain. Someone who's trying to do like positive things, but maybe not always hitting the mark. I am, to my own detriment, maybe a bit perfectionist, a bit critical, a bit like anxious for a lot of stuff, and that can be good sometimes, but it can definitely not be good all the time. So I thought that maybe this is a superhero who's trying to help people improve what they're doing by making them a bit more like critical, a bit more perfectionist. And sometimes she helps people, and sometimes she just makes them anxious and insecure, and yeah, you know, because I feel like that's me. So I made a sketch of approximately what I want to do. This is obviously subject to change. So I thought that I would just jump into this a bit, because I have a tendency to do that. What I do know is that I have some leftover leather that I want to use for the cups. So what I've done so far is to just cut all the pieces for the cups, and I'm just going to assemble these. So here are the parts for the cup. So I'm going to first sew these together, then sew these to that one, and then sew this line to this side. I'm using the Shelley Bra pattern for the cups, and I'll show you guys later on what I use for the panels of this corset. So here's the first piece, and I use this textile glue to glue down the seam allowances since I can't really press it. Now it's time to sew these two together with this. So now I just need to sew this part on the side. So done. The cups. Here are the pattern pieces for the panels. This is like a hack between a corset pattern and a bra pattern. So I have the cup frame here and then the corset bodice. This is going to be cut on the fold. So I'm not going to have any front closure, but I'm going to add lacing to the back. These are all going to be faux leather, and I kind of like the idea of having the sides quilted. These two, I am going to cut these in a coutil to have a stable lining fabric, and then the faux leather will be the outside. And I'm gonna start quilting these. So I need to make sure I stay clear of the seam allowance. So I've cut the foam for these side panels. So I've added extra room for the seam allowance and boning. But what I'm gonna do now is to just zigzag these to the lining, just to sort of keep them in place, and then I'm gonna cut some bigger pieces of faux leather for the outer shell. So I'm just gonna cut quite wide around this pattern piece. So I'm just gonna have the seam on the outside of the foot and just use that as a guide. I'm just going to continue doing this. I've finished the first rows. Looks kind of cool. I'm going to do the other direction of seams, 90 degrees on the ones that I've made at this point. Here's the panel. So what I'm going to do now is to just trim off the excess and do the others as well, in just the same fashion basically. I'm getting there in terms of the quilting. So the final panel, I just need to attach all the threads. And then we have all the quilted parts, which is exciting. So I just want to show you guys. I think it looks so cool. I'm really pleased with that so far. So hopefully the whole thing will fit. This one is slightly more successful than this one, and I think the reason why this warps less is because I alternated the direction I sewed in when making these. So I did like this. I want to sew these together just because I really want to see. Here is the cup, so this is on this side. The cup will sit in here, and then the front will come on the side here. Right, so I need to clip this a bit as the waist, and I'm gonna do a few down here as well. That helps. I sort of cheated a bit and did some of this off camera. So I made the boning channel. I put on one of these herringbone tape on the back. I did miss it, but it works better than just putting it in the seam allowance. But here is the front panel. I'm gonna put right sides together like this, and I'm just going to sew the upper edge, fold it over, and then I'm gonna do like a middle boning channel situation. So I got that done. Here are the panels, so these are the sides, here is the front. So I'm just basically gonna sew these to that side. So I redid the cups, and it's just because this part right here, it's too narrow to do any sort of grommet situation. I'm just discarding these for now. Maybe I'll make like a leather bra at some point. Sounds very devious, but I'm just putting those aside because I remade them in the same faux leather. I've given those a bit more of like a top. So I'm gonna do a kind that I've done before because at least I know that works. So I've cut the lining pieces. So I'm gonna sew these together, just like the cup and coutil. Then I'm going to put the foam, I'm gonna sew that onto the lining. I think I figured out the back. It is this pattern right here, which has a higher back, that one. I also need to cut these shoulder straps. I like to keep an illusion of being tidy when sewing, and it's a lie. Righty, so back panel, and then I'm gonna cut the faux leather and just attach these to the sides. I did this off camera because no one wants to see that level of frustration, really. I tried to do like a sandwiching method thing where you have the seam allowance on the inside and you sort of sandwich the other two, but I didn't want to weaken the faux leather, so I did both of them at the same time. And of course we have one crease here. I don't think that was avoidable. Maybe it was, but I wasn't able to avoid it. So that's the look. And with a cup like this, So just like this side, I'm doing the other one as well with the boning channels and everything for the back. I have some pieces of homemade bias binding in this wool fabric. It works with the idea. It works with the black. So I'm gonna do this at least for the cups, but I think for the whole thing. Trying to make it nice and even. This is kind of giving me like a Burberry feel for some reason, which wasn't exactly what I was going for, but I'm not sure if any of you agree with me on that. Okay, that's one. That is the rest bound off, at least the top edge. It's time to put in the cups, like so. And I'm just going to sew around here. I'm going to do the other one, then I'm going to do the boning, the grommets, and then the lower bias binding. And that is basically it for the corset portion of this outfit. Someone commented on the community tab that they thought maybe this was a Violet Sorengale outfit from Fourth Wing. And part of me is kind of annoyed that it isn't, because that would totally work. It is so chunky. A moment of truth. Oh, I think it's good. Oh, I'm so relieved. I'm gonna take the boning now and insert that. And I'm gonna do flat steel boning in the front and in the back panels. And I'm gonna do spiral steel in these ones. So I'm gonna start off with the front and then do the back afterwards. I'm just going to use this to just kind of make a mark on it. It's not terribly neat, it doesn't fit properly, but it is as good as it gets right now because I don't have the right fit. So I'm gonna do the same here on this side. Goodness me, that flat steel boning, my hands. We're done though with the flat steel boning. Here, the two in the front and the two on this side. So I've started cutting the spiral steel boning, getting tips on these as well. Come on. Okay, one side down, and after that it's just the grommets and bias binding on the bottom. Right, so that's done, and it's time for the grommets. Since there's no underwire, it sort of drags, so it kind of warps in terms of the shape of it. Luckily, I have some underwire pieces. I have some beige underwire casing, and what I think I'm gonna do is to attach this along the outer seam here. It's not a pretty job, but I'm gonna put in the underwire. I don't want a cape. I don't want to go that literal with it, but I was thinking instead of a cape, maybe I have like a lace collar or something that I tie in the front. Because I feel like if I'm going like perfectionist, dark academia kind of hero slash villain, that would sort of be on theme as well. I have never done that before. I do have some fabric I think I can use. I have this cotton fabric that I think would work for that. And I also have this lace trim that I think I could have along the edge. I don't want it too big over the shoulder, just on the shoulder, but I want it a bit longer in the front, so maybe like 15. I'm just gonna test this with some leftover fabric that I had before starting off with the one I'm actually going to use. And I'll get back to you guys when I have drafted a possible solution for this. So here is the second test. So I think I'm gonna move on with this. So the main thing I need to do is to sew this in the actual material, and I have to make like a drawstring channel here. I was considering, because I have a different type of lace trim as well, which is a bit shorter. I was considering having that on top here, like a sort of ruffle. So I might try that. So I'm just gonna take this off and use this basically as the facing, cut a similar one in the other material, and then just sort of take it from there, I think. So both pieces are cut. So this is the, I'm not sure what this is called actually, but it has this polka dot kind of effect. And the facing. So I am just going to sew this on. This has some stretch in it, but I'm just not going to think about that. So I'm just sewing it straight stitch along the edge. So that first one is on. So I'm gonna do the same up top here. I'm gonna stay a bit further in, just because this is a very narrow elastic. And there it is. Right, so I did some stuff off camera, and I'm sorry I didn't include you guys in the process, but I was just so unsure about how to proceed. I have sort of put the two sides together. So what I eventually ended up doing was to just press in all the seam allowances on the lining, just pin it to the back of the main fabric and just basically just sew around. I also did this drawstring channel. It does tend to kind of flip out a bit or in on the trim, which does indicate that it is a bit tight. I think mostly it's fine. So I think overall this was a success. So about the emblem, here is the sketch that I made previously, which was kind of like metallic. I've kind of changed my mind about that. So I think I want to do it in leather instead to make it a bit more discreet. So I have some leather scraps that I thought I'd maybe use to kind of build up layers and give like this 3D effect. And I made a sketch of the different layers that I'll need. So I'm gonna try to make slits in the back so that I can have some sort of leather straps or something to hook it onto. And then I'm just gonna gradually build it up with the emblem itself and the edges around it and so on. So hopefully it's gonna look good. Here are the templates. So here is the bottom or the back. I've cut another one that I'm going to glue to the top of this. Now, before you guys comment on it, yes, this looks really bumpy, but the main reason for that is that I made a mistake and I had to try to pry them from one another because I could not be bothered to cut new pieces. I'm gonna put on this part, then cut another one of those and put that on top. After this has set, I'm gonna do another one to make it a bit clearer. I have just sewn together some strips of the faux leather and I'm gonna try to put the emblem on these two through the slits in the back. So I want it to be something like this. So I'm gonna sew the 2 strips, just sew it together at the ends, and same with the other. So that is my superhero slash villain outfit. So overall I'm really happy with this. I like the combination of this logo thing and the rest of the outfit. I like the crisscrossing straps, and it makes it look a bit more like armor-esque in a way. Like I'm going into combat, combating detail errors everywhere. Coming in hard with the perfectionism. So yeah, overall I'm really happy with it. There is still the issue of the very steep back, which does sort of pop out a bit. It's not very extreme, but it is a bit annoying. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like below. This is one of the kind of bigger projects, so if you really like this, please give it some love. If you want to support the channel more directly, I have a Patreon, which is just a support tier for now. Thank you so much to existing Patreons. I hope to see you guys in the next video.